We're gonna go over how to do this Tunisian rib stitch. I use this stitch for this raglan sweater here, which I will tag down below. There are multiple combinations of Tunisian crochet stitches that make some sort of rib stitch. So if you look up Tunisian rib stitch, there's probably gonna be 4 or 5 different stitch combinations that people coin as the rib stitch. But this is the one that we're gonna be working on. It's a mix of Tunisian full stitch and the Tunisian purl stitch. So let's get into it. So for this, I'm just gonna be using a normal crochet hook because I'm not planning on making that big of square. So to start out, we wanna make a slip knot. We're just gonna chain an odd number. Okay, so I have an odd number of chains here. We're just going to start with the basic Tunisian crochet foundation row of simple stitches. If you want a more in-depth tutorial of it, you can watch that video here, but I'm just gonna quickly go over it. We're gonna work in the back bump of the chain, and we're just going to pull up a loop in every chain down the row. Once you have the very last loop pulled up in the last chain, we're gonna return pass like normal. So we're gonna yarn over and pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2 all the way down until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Okay, so there is our foundation row for Tunisian crochet. So now we're gonna start our special ribbed stitch here. So this has a combination of, like I said, of purl stitches and Tunisian full stitches. So I will link the 2 videos of those 2 stitches individually up here if you want more in depth of each of those stitches and to practice them. But I'm just gonna kind of dive into it here with a brief explanation. So we're going to start with the Tunisian purl stitch. So how we do that is we move our yarn to in front of our hook. We're gonna work the next stitch like a normal, like simple stitch by inserting into the vertical bar. Then we're gonna take our yarn and put it around to the back of the hook. And then you can use your thumb to kind of hold on to the yarn there to then make it easier to yarn over and pull up a loop. And that's a purl stitch. And you can see that it created a little knot there. And that's essentially what our purl stitch is. So we do 1 purl stitch, and then we do 2 full stitches. So a full stitch is you don't work in the vertical bars, you work between the vertical bars. For this, we want to do 1 where you work in front of this next vertical bar and 1 where you work after it. So we're just going to go between the purl stitch we just did and the next vertical bar. We're going to go between there, push all the way to the back, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then do the same thing after the vertical bar. So not into the vertical bar, but right after it, between the next 2, yarn over, pull up a loop. So we did 1 purl stitch, 2 full stitches. Now we're gonna do a purl stitch again. So we're just alternating purl, 2 fulls, purl, 2 fulls. So to do a purl, we're gonna put the yarn in front of our hook, insert into the next vertical bar, so the one directly after our last full stitch. Insert into the vertical bar, work the yarn around the hook, hold it with my thumb, yarn over, pull up a loop. And there's our purl stitch. Then we do our full stitch again. So directly after the purl, we're gonna full stitch between this and the next vertical bar. So right there, pull up a loop, then 1 after, so not the vertical bar, right after it, pull up a loop, and just keep going. So purl stitch in the next stitch, and 2 full stitches. Then purl stitch, 2 full stitch. And then because we worked an odd amount of chains, we're gonna end with a purl stitch right before the last Tunisian simple stitch, and then work that stitch like normal. Pull up a loop. All right, so if you count the amount of loops that you have on your hook, the 2 full stitches are going to combine into 1 stitch. So you're actually gonna have way more loops on the hook than your final stitch count will be. So 1 purl stitch, 2 full stitch, 1 purl, 2 full, 1 purl, 2 full. So you're gonna have more loops on your hook than what you chained. Now we're gonna return pass. So the return pass for this stitch is a little different. Like I mentioned, we're gonna be combining the full stitches together, those two together. So instead of return passing individually on each loop, we're going to pull those two loops together technically. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start out like normal. We're gonna yarn over, pull through one. Then we're coming up on a purl stitch. So we're gonna yarn over, pull through two. But then when we have two full stitches coming, we're gonna yarn over and pull through three, where we're pulling through both of those two full stitches. Now it's a purl stitch, so we're gonna yarn over, pull through two, and then two furl stitches. So yarn over, pull through three. And you're just gonna do that down the row. So pull through two, pull through three, two, three, all the way down. So 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and then the very last stitch, we're just gonna yarn over, pull through two. And there you go. You can kind of see our little V's kind of creating here. So there's a V, and those are our little horizontal bars in the middle there, are our purl stitches. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off the next row as normal we're going to create a purl stitch in the next stitch. So move the yarn in front and purl stitch. And then we're gonna do our two full stitches, but now we're going to put them before and after our V. So around it right there. So one here and one here. Then we're going to purl stitch because that's the next stitch. And then two full stitches around the V there. So 1, 2. And then we're just gonna repeat that down the entire row. Then we're gonna end with that purl stitch and then the last Tunisian simple stitch, just a yarn over and pull up a loop. All right, so now we do the same return pass that we did the last row, where whenever we come up on two full stitches, we wanna pull through three, but when we're coming up on a purl stitch, we're just gonna pull through two. So starting off as normal, chain one, so yarn over, pull through one, and then yarn over, pull through two, because the next one's a purl. Then pull through three, because there's two full stitches, 2, 3, 2, 3, all the way down. And then the last one, we just pull through two. So that is how you do this stitch. So how I count the stitches as well is I count these two full stitches as one stitch. So we count the two end ones as one, so the last one and the first one, and then the purl stitches is one and the full stitches is one. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the last one, 13. I'll do a couple more rows and then we're gonna go over how you finish off the top. Okay, so here's what it looks like with a couple more rows added. You can really see that rib stitch. It's such a pretty texture. So now we wanna finish off the top, make it look pretty like the bottom does. So there are a few ways you can work into the purl stitch to finish off. You can work a purl stitch, but then slip stitch. Or you can just do a slip stitch normally. It doesn't matter too much. I'm gonna do the purl and then slip stitch. And then for the two full stitches or this pronounced ribbing, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work our two full stitches as normal. But then what we're gonna do is we're gonna yarn over and pull through all three loops on our hook. So the purl stitch now, do a purl stitch, but then slip stitch, and then do two full stitches, but then yarn over and pull through three. And just repeat that all the way down. And then when you get to the very last Tunisian simple stitch, you're just gonna go into it as normal, pull up a loop, but then just slip stitch. And that is how you finish off the rib stitch up top as well. And look how pretty it looks. So that is this type type of stitch for the Tunisian rib stitch. There are so many different Tunisian stitch combinations that make some sort of ribbed look, but this is this version, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you like this tutorial, I would love if you checked out some of my other Tunisian crochet tutorials. I'll put the playlist here, and I'd love if you comment down below if there are any other tutorials you'd like to see from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.